Today, we're going to be chatting about a truly unusual and unique and just amazing toy line. One with a backstory that once you hear it, it just sort of makes sense. You see, these toys were designed by true artists, true storytellers, and everything about that shines through with these toys. Now, welcome to Rewind Toys. I'm your host, Jason Emmett, and today we're going to be talking about Boglins. In the 80s, there was this huge run of creepy critters. There were, critters. There were gremlins. There were ghoulies. There were trolls. There were even munchies. Now, I have no idea where the craze started, but I sure did enjoy it, as I'm sure a lot of you did. Now, let us jump to one of the most genius group of creators the world has ever known. Those were the men and women associated with the Jim Henson Company. And one of those men was Tim Clark. Now, Clark had been working with the Henson Company on a little show called Fraggle Rock. Maybe you've heard of it. The show had come to an end, and Clark, alongside fellow designer Maureen Trotto, was looking to make a toy for kids that was a little more interactive. Puppets, to be exact. Now, what they came up with was a line of insect toys called Sectors. And we're going to go into Sectors at some point on this show, but just know that while working on Sectors, Clark and Trotto met toy agent Larry Moss. So the three of them began talking, and they knew they liked the puppet idea behind the Sectors, and they wanted something to connect with the little creature fad that was sort of going around at the time. Clark thought using foam latex to form the base of these new toys would allow them to be a little more realistic looking. He began to design the look inspired by the giant Olmec heads of Mexico. Just check these things out. You might start seeing it if you're familiar with Boglins. Now, Clark believed by adding simple mechanics to the design, it would allow basic movement, thus adding to the realism. And it really did. I remember as a kid thinking how well the Boglins would work for shooting my own short film because they just moved and looked cool, and and I was a kid, guys. I mean, obviously. With their new design in hand, Clark and company approached Coleco. Coleco liked it, but they requested the simple creature be given a body, and originally they wanted to incorporate them into the Sectors line. The redesigned look of the Boglins, however, just didn't really seem to fit, so eventually they would move on from Coleco and would take their design to Mattel. And Mattel, well, they just seemed to get it. Look, it was 1987, and I'm sure the success of the Garbage Pail Kids helped convince Mattel a little bit because kids liked weird things. So the first run of Boglins had three creatures. There was Dwork, Drool, and Vlob, and they were released in packaging that might just have been as cool as the toys themselves. See, the packaging looked like these little crates that the Boglins had been captured and kind of transported in. Then there was the story. A backstory was created that made the idea behind these little beasts even more interesting, and that story was written as field notes on the back of the crates. The Boglins came from a swampy bog that time forgot, and were now being studied in the field of bogology. There were larger Boglins, Boglinus humungus, and smaller ones, Boglinus minimus. Their names were Squidge, Schlurp, Sponk, Schlump, Squawk, and Squeal, at least in the United States. And the UK, where the line was a bit more successful, they were Boink, Squint, Splat, Blap, Doink, and Clang. Over time, we received additional Boglins, the Halloween-themed Blobkin and Bag of Bones, the aquatic Soggy Boglins, Snish the Fish, Schlog the Frog, and Slopster the Lobster. There was Glint and Quirk, the Talking Boglins, Action Boglins, Spit, Rasp, Grunge, Lick, and Eyeball, Basham Boglins, Splat, and Squiss. There were glow-in-the-dark ones named Clang, Doink, and Squint, Baby Boglin finger puppets. There were Caged Boglins, Baby Action Boglins, Acrobat Boglins, and re-released larger Boglins with hair and wiggling tongues. I know what you're thinking. Maybe this was overkill, but it really wasn't because each one was so unique and looked so cool. And honestly, they're just not that easy to find. It sounds like there was a lot, but they're really just not that easy to find, at least not in good condition. So after their initial run eventually ran its course, there was a revival series released in 2000. Honestly, even these are really cool and not bad if you can get your hands on them. Now, me personally, I love the vintage stuff. I want the originals, but I wouldn't mind having some of the 2000 ones if that's all I could find. This run offered a few variants, including electronic Boglins that talked, moved their tongue, spit water. These were also under the Mattel label. Then in 2017, Seven Towns and Clutter magazine had another run targeting collectors. These were limited. If you're interested in picking some of the newer Boglins up, you can head over to Tim Clark's website, totems.com. I'll put it right there. He has Boglins and a bunch of other really cool stuff available there on his site. You should just go check it out. It's great. As for the OG Boglins, yeah, they're highly collectible. Loose prices range from $30 to $50. I've even seen certain loose Boglins go for over $100, but $30 and $40 for loose ones seems to be about average. If you have the crate, well, that automatically kicks it up like a bunch. And in that crate, like brand new, we're more in the 130 and up range at that point. Again, this is depending on which one you're looking at and what condition it's in, obviously. These are really cool looking, though. And yes, I do want them, at least some of them. I would love to have them in my collection. Having Henson pedigree behind the creators, to me, just lends that extra wow factor that these toys needed. I mean, Tim Clark, this guy worked on the Dark Crystal, and looking at the Boglins just goes to enforce the fantasy element behind them. These toys, to me, were something very special in a toy market where we were seeing a lot of the same type of things. All of them I loved, but these were just wholly unique. So who of you out there were into the Boglins? Did you own any Boglins? Do you own any Boglins currently? Drop a comment down below. Leave us your thoughts. We love to hear them. We love to talk toys with you guys. You guys have been great so far. If you could, go ahead and hit that like button. That would be amazing. And then please, please, please do me a favor. Push that subscribe button before you go. We really dig toys here. We really like talking toys with you guys. So we really want to have you back. We want you to come play with us again. Until next time, this is Rewind Toys. And remember, when it comes to these really cool vintage toys, well, the hunt, that's half the fun.